You are my linen garment I put on. Lord, you are my linen garment I put on, while I minister to in the inner courts. They shall not girt themselves with anything that causes sweat. They shall not girt themselves with anything that causes sweat. Lord, you are my linen garment I put on. Lord, you are my linen garment I put on, while I minister to you in the inner courts. Oh, your garments smell of earth and aloe, of acacia. Oh, your garments smell of myrrh and aloe, of acacia, as I minister to you in the inner.
You know what that is? Yahuwah's righteous judgment. You ever seen a steeple in your life? You ever been to a Baptist church? Yeah. You know what that's called? An idol. Under the steeple. Straight up. Sun pillars. It's where people like Luciferians go to worship the sun. It's not necessarily what the people that are gathering there are there to do. I understand tremendously. However, beguilement is rule number one in the kingdom of darkness. Beguiling, subtlety, craftiness, shrewdness, deceitfulness, falsehood. Look at that is something you've been programmed and brainwashed your entire life to think is something related to Yahuwah. You know what that's related to? The adversarial kingdom. You know why it belongs in this creek ditch zone right here? Because Yahuwah tore it down, son. Tiny scales. You know what we were commanded to do? Go and do likewise. Uh-oh, more stuff talking about Gilgal. Look out here, Devarim, the Deuteronomy, the most dangerous book in existence. Look at, these are the laws and right rulings which you guard to do in the land which Yahuwah, the Elohim of your fathers, is giving you to possess. All the days that you live on the land. Completely destroy all the places where the nations which you are dispossessing serve their mighty ones, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. Reference green trees. You know what they're talking about there? Generally deciduous trees, or the evergreens for those sneaky solstice worshipers and such beings that worship the heavenly host, but then they build their little groves. This is a grove nature built called a forest, and it's amazing. But then there's wicked ones who build groves to hide their darkness. And you shall break down their altars, destroy their pillars, and burn their asherim with fire. And you shall cut down the carved images and the mighty ones, and the images of their mighty ones, and shall destroy their name out of that place. Do not do so to Yahuwah your Elohim, but seek the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses out of all of your tribes to put his name there for his dwelling place, and there you shall enter, and there you shall take your burnt offerings, your tithes, and your contributions of your hands, and your vowed offerings, and your voluntary offerings, and the firstlings of your herd and of your flock. And there you shall eat before Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall rejoice in all that you put your hand to, you and your households in which Yahuwah your Elohim has barak you. Do not do all that we do here today, each one whatever is right in his own eyes, because you have not entered the rest of and the inheritance which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. But you shall pass over the Yarden. That's a Hebrew. And you shall dwell in the land which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you to inherit. And he shall give you rest from all your enemies round about you, and you shall dwell in safety. And it shall be that under the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell, there you are to bring all that I command you. Do you get this? How marvelous this is? Yahweh has a totally different system for announcing his truth to the nations. It doesn't involve highfalutin architectural cathedrals. That's not how you make Yahweh's glory renowned to the nations. You know how you do it? You step into nature. Because you can never create something so complex as a single tree. Look at this. You see this little tree behind me here? This little lovely buddy who doesn't apparently mind to have his feet wet. You know why? Because this is a wet weather creek system right here. You see this? This delicious hackberry which feeds the trees and the forest and the soil and the birds and all these bugs that you can't even see that live down under this soil system. This is what its roots look like. But its roots are even smarter than you can even imagine, because even when the roots get exposed to air, you know what they turn into on the outer layer? Bark. Instead of that soft, fleshy, pulpy, delicious sweetness that everything wants to eat, it really puts out this outer hard covering to keep itself strong and healthy. This is the hackberry. It's like my favorite tree ever. This is what you make pitchforks out of, like actual hay forks. You know, you can plant these just like you would an annual or perennial kind of crop. Plant them in rows, and then as they grow up, you prune them so that they have fingers. Oh yeah. And then over the next 4 or 5 years, you just continue to prune them to individual fingers coming up like that. And then you have a pitchfork, a hay fork that's way more durable than any of the garbage you buy at Home Depot that you're gonna break and then be like, dang it, I guess I gotta go make $21.65 to buy another piece of junk. You know what you are? A slave. I know it's super difficult pill to swallow. You shouldn't swallow pills. You should eat trees. They're way better for you. Swallow fruits from trees, not the poisons and the doctrines of demons. And that's what just most of us inherited in those places under those steeples and in those cathedrals and those halls. We inherited the doctrines of death, demonic foolishness. And you know what? That super certainly poisons the well of your understanding. So if you want revelation, insight, understanding, you're going to have to tear down your idols. I know, it's super uncomfortable and awkward. And you have to do a lot of explaining to people. Be like, I know, we've been gathering here for all these years. I know it looks like a house of worship, but it's actually a house of idolatry, and we should really put away the idols that are in our house, because judgment, you know, justice, mishpat, justice starts in the house of Yahuwah. Okay, nice. You know what I just spotted over here too? 2 wild turkeys. Just walking around over there. You know what they were eating under? A tree I now can identify. Pin oak. There was a pin oak over here that they were eating under. And then there was a red oak that they really were getting excited about. And you know what they were losing their minds eating? Bur oak. The sweetest, most delicious acorns around. See, if I learn to identify the trees by their leaves, I can identify their fruits, which means I can identify what is going to come and eat them. Because in trees like this hackberry, you see, it's way the heck up there, right? Well, these hackberries, when they get nice, big, and mature, they're the only way you can reach those berries. They're literally sugar berries. They're just a sugar deliciousness with like a hard, crunchy inner core. They're called hackberries or common hackberries. Way up there, they stay on there, these bright red and purple seeds. And you know what? Those birds of the heavens are going to eat them all winter long. He's going to provide the sustenance for the birds all through the winter, so that even the birds, which are crying out to him, that he knows where every one of them are, they will have all their provisions and their needs met, because Yahuwah grew a tree for them. You know, Yahuwah grew a tree for you, one tree in particular. It's called the tree of life, and it is the tree that will cure all sickness. Its leaves are for the healings of the nations, the Gentiles. The nations from all around this earth are going to go through one door, one gate, one man, the Son of Righteousness, who was delivered from all of our sins and transgressions that were heaped upon him, poured upon him, pounded into him. He became our unrighteousness. Even though he was so set apart, he was never stained by adultery and idolatry. He was never tainted, until a moment in time came where he took our destructive, absolute corrupted identities on, and he gave us his life. He surrendered it. He gave it up so that we, through one tree, might come to a place of right ruling again, right standard, right relationship with Yahuwah, and we could have the empowering of his Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit of truth, the living spirit of the Torah, the word that became flesh, the breath of Yah, breathed out through Yahshua's words on this earth, come into us, abide with us, and lead us on the path of righteousness. This is a path of righteousness. This is a creature. That is a path of righteousness. You know why? Because even if I'm lost, even if I don't know where to go, even if I don't know where I am, if I just suddenly woke up here in the middle of this forest and I had no knowing of where to turn to, I could follow this. Like people have followed these for thousands of years. And you know where it led them to? More creeks, rivers. And rivers always lead to people. Creeks will always lead to people. Creeks and people will always be somewhere near these. You can also find down under here, even though there's not water flowing up here, I know for certain there's water down there because I crawled down into a well, a cistern that someone dug, and I followed this creek. And this sunken depression that you're seeing here, you see on the surface, you think this is just surface erosion. You know what's happening underneath us right now? Right beneath my feet, there is still this creek flowing, and it never turns off. And you know what happens? The ground itself, because it's predominantly limestone, like you're seeing all around here, this limestone, which is bearing crinoid fossils like that one right there. This ground is literally being dissolved under our feet by that living water flowing under our feet. And so then I have a path of knowing down beneath me is water, and sooner or later it will lead me to what I need. If it's other people, if it's other resources, but also just a way through this wilderness, because I don't want to walk through that. That's Greenbrier. Greenbrier is savage. Savage. This is literally the embodiments of the curse against man right here. You know why this is here? Because man screwed it up. We jacked around in here and clear cut and logged these forests and destroyed the soil health and the fertility of these lands. And we have eradicated the main megafauna. That's like big animals. Animals that eat and pee and poop a lot. And they would refertilize this whole entire landscape. Clearly, turkeys and birds and some of these other ones are still here. But what you don't see is free-roaming bison. What you don't see is giant mastodons. We're missing the major species of deliverance for this soil health. And you know what? So too are each and every one of us when we're living in the civilized world and we're being indoctrinated with falsehoods and lies, and we're not knowing who he is and what his creations and the testimony of what are being spoken right here. Because right here is everything we need to know about him. He said the heavens and the earth are a witness so that all men are without excuse. We have no excuse. No man has an excuse, because if you come out here, you surely see the intimate, delicate craftsmanship and artisanal work of our Creator. It is in every speck of his creation. It's in you, it's in your neighbor, it's in that guy who drives you crazy when he's driving in traffic. It's in every single one of us. We have an identity that shows the marksmanship, the perfect right aim of our Father for just such a time as this. Go out into his creation, explore and learn the testimonies of him, and then, just maybe, Yahweh will impart to us the greatest power of all, that we can go ahead and tear down our idols. We can stomp them and crush them beneath our feet, and we can live in the way of life, and we will be free to walk in his footsteps and the footsteps of our forefathers once again.